បាទជំរាបសួរទូរទស្សនិកជនជាទីមេត្រីបាទសូមស្វាគមន៍មកកាន់កម្មវិធីជួបជាមួយនឹងខ្ញុំ Tony នៅលើកញ្ចក់ទូរទស្សន៍ខ្មែរ TV បាទកម្មវិធីនេះយើងនាំមកនៅជោគជ័យជំនះរបស់កូនខ្មែរយើងដែលរស់នៅទីក្រុងអាមេរិកឬក៏នៅទីកន្លែងណាក្តីយកមកសួរខ្លះដើម្បីឲ្យគាត់មានគាត់ជាអ្នកមាន talent ឬក៏ខ្មែរយើងគេហៅថាទេពកោសល្យខ្ពស់ដែលបានរៀនដល់មួយកំណត់ឬក៏ជោគជ័យជំនះនៅក្នុងជីវិតណាមួយហើយយើងចង់ដឹងថាតើគាត់បានធ្វើអ្វីខ្លះនៅក្នុងជីវិតគាត់ដែលបានគាត់ឈានមកដល់ដំណាក់កាលនេះបាទហើយថ្ងៃនេះយើងមានកូនខ្មែរយើងម្នាក់ក្មេងក៏ប៉ុន្តែអឺឆ្លាតមែនទែនដែលចេះសរសេររឿងកុនហើយបានធ្វើការជាមួយនឹងអ្នកតួកុនអាមេរិកកាំងដ៏ល្បីមួយបាទហើយនាងឈ្មោះ Jenna Lam Jenna ខ្ញុំនឹងណែនាំទូរទស្សនិកជនទៅជួបជាមួយនឹង Jenna Lam. Jenna Lam is a storytelling creative that believes imagination begins when you engage with the community. Jenna started by studying theater at Creative and Performing Arts High School, then continued at Playhouse, West Philadelphia, where she furthered her learning with scene study and screenwriting. After a brief stint exploring New York City, Jenna returned to Temple University for a film and media arts degree. While there, she made the discovery that she no longer wanted to play general and stigmatized roles made for Asian American women. Instead, she wanted to sustain her career by becoming a producer and creating stories that reflect her community. In her last year of university, Jenna rallied her film classmates and created ambitious a 6-episode digital series that followed a Vietnamese American college dropout who sabotaged her relationship to save face with her immigrant mother. The dramedy, the dramedy is a cautious tale about pride, the pressure of being a first-generation college student, and conflict that arise with wanting to please our parents. Jenna has served as a development intern for Tom Hanks production company, played tone work at the 2019 Academy Award, and as a production coordinator at Metro Filmworks, kickstarting the digital media department for the Cambodian Association of Greater Philadelphia is a tall order, but Jenna is grateful for the opportunity to connect creativity and storytelling with her community. In combination with her thirst for knowledge, she's on a quest to unlock her family history and purpose with where impacted by the Khmer and feature Southeast Asian woman story on the screen. Jenna hoped to be her ancestor wildest dream. Wow, this is amazing, Jenna. Thank you very much, Jenna. Sounds really good. First, I would like to. This is um, this is like a lot for me for your very young age. Well, first of all, I was wondering where did you born? You born here or you born in Cambodia?
I was born here in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Okay, so your parent probably went through the Khmer regimes and stuff like that, like many other people.
Yes, yes. My dad had came from Tra Vinh in Vietnam, and he fought his way through to get an education at uh, Illinois University, and he studied engineering. And um, my mom with her family came as well, and together they found each other in the States and settled in Philadelphia.
I see. So, how was your young age? How was your school year when you were young? Was it good? Was it get picked on because you're Asian? How did it go?
That's a really good question. I believe that our younger self gives a lot to where we're going to go and do in the future. a lot of the work I'm interested in does a lot of identity. We, who's our family, and why do we do what we do? When I was younger, I wanted to be very Americanized, did not want it to be Asian at all. I My mom would pack me food for lunch, and it would make me so nervous and scared of opening the food, and the smell, smells so big that other people would say, "Ooh, what is that?" And I would tell my mom, "Stop making me food, stop making me any lunches." It broke her heart, but she began to understand that I wanted to be Americanized. And sooner or later, when I was in high school, I began to ask myself, like, who am I? What do I do? And that led me to becoming more internally interested in discovering who I was and where my family came from.
So how was your high school year? I mean, you do you feel very difficult, or was it kind of like easy? Because a lot of the time, I mean, when I was in high school, which is, but I started high school basically. I wasn't born here or anywhere. I born in Cambodia, but I was too old. So when I started high school, I had people pick on me. Where I used to sit, for example, let's say I normally just sit on one chair, but one day for years, for months, and then one day the guy just coming in and sit on my chairs, and I say that's my chair, and I say no, school is not my chair. Did you get some people pick on you like that? Like any one of those classmates?
Absolutely. I feel that as my parents and grandparents were learning how to speak English, I picked up some of the dialect, and that led me to becoming insecure in how I spoke. Like, I spoke way too fast. I had a Cambodian or Vietnamese dialect. No one could understand me. That led me to feeling frustrated and being quiet. My personality is far from being quiet though. I am loud. I am, you know, learning to be a leader and learning to get a project done. As an Asian American woman, and even as Cambodian, I felt a loss of identity. I felt that if I spoke up and raised my voice, people would be very surprised, and just for a voice to come out of a small Asian girl was surprising to them. So I had to learn to work on my speech and began to find power in it. I learned to embrace that my dialect is a gift from my parents as they were learning English, and learning that people will have to learn to hear, learn to understand me. And that was my biggest struggle during high school.
Basically, they have to accept who you are instead of instead of want to change you. I mean, that is true, because you don't want to go out of your way. You don't want to completely change your identity just because of that person. And then I guess because that's probably just only a few person, it's not everybody in the whole class, right, that going after you. Yeah. Yeah, because some high school, I mean, a lot of the high school that I heard of, sometimes they get picked on because we are Asian, and some of them they trying to get you to do different type of things, and like you said earlier, with the food, if you have the food and you open it up, if it you warm it up, or sit next to them and smell, they probably gonna they're probably not gonna be even want to be close with you, right?
Not at all. Not at all, especially when my mom or my grandmother would make my favorite food. Like, food is such a love language. It's such a common thing. It's a thing that makes us feel at home. And you know the the discovery that parents don't say I love you, but they ask you, are you hungry, did you eat yet? So you can only imagine their feelings when I rejected to eat their food and wanted to eat more American food. is it's a shame that growing up as children, we reject this part of ourselves in order to be someone else who we're not. And we can only hope that, you know, for future leaders and other Cambodian children, will they begin to accept that their identity is their own power, their history is their own power?
I think you're absolutely right because you cannot just be one thing and make it good because we have to be who we are and they have to be who they are, and that's what make everything grow and everything, because you cannot just be one person and make, for example, like they make the space rocket or whatever. It's not just one person, so one person cannot do anything. So we need a whole group of people, a whole community. How do you discover yourself, or when did you discover yourself that you want to be the playwright, or was it
That's a
playwright
very good
or
question.
actor?
Both. It started out as an actor. When I was younger, we have home video cameras, and every time my mom would shoot something, I always wanted to be the star of it. Uh, and that led me to an interest in acting. First, it was fashion, and I recognized that it's not truly who I am, so I did acting. Acting was a really great way to express myself. I felt like I can hide behind words, I can hide behind different roles. But when I went to
What
different acting schools, I
kind?
recognized that there were only few parts of different. You either to be white or African American. There was no room for acting for Asians, let alone Cambodian Americans. So when I was auditioning, I was really tired of seeing the same roles over and over again. It was the quiet girl or the best friend, or had they say yellow fever, they think that it's better to fetishize a fantasize a Asian girl as a crush, but does not show that we are strong, doesn't show that we are brilliant, that we have
Yes.
so much within us. They only want to see us as small people. That led me to eventually beginning to write my own stories. All of the confusions I felt as a child, all of the unspoken history that my parents and grandparents held, that led me to a mission of finding those stories, talking to them, and listening, putting it into words so we can see our stories on the screen. For the next generation to know that there is solidarity, that there is a place for them here, for them to be understood.
Okay, that's great. So we're gonna take a quick break, and when we come back, we're gonna talk a little bit about your your play or your acting at schools, and what you're doing now. You also work with Tom Hanks. I heard that. I saw that, and Tom Hanks is one of the biggest star here. So, we're gonna come back in a few minutes. Okay. So, សូមពីកម្មវិធីសូមសម្រាប់មួយផ្លែសិនបាទបាទសូមស្វាគមន៍ត្រឡប់មកវិញបាទ Jenna, how about college? When you get into college, I mean, you're going to be much better now, right? Because everybody doesn't really care about who you are or what you are. Because I'm pretty sure that in college there's a lot of Asian, a lot of other ethnicity all over the school, right? Is that right?
That's true. But at the same time, sometimes you can feel alone in a crowded space. And I feel like, growing up, I wasn't accepting myself for who I was. And when I went to college, that's where I learned so much about myself. To be honest with you, Butoni, I didn't want to go to college, but like many other Cambodian Americans, I'm sure they felt the same way. And I did it because wanted my parents to be happy, like many other students, and what led me to be more focused in my degree and pursuing it is because I want to tell our stories, and I knew the only way to get there was to return back to college, right? Return back to college and know that I am there for resources, the professors, the equipment, and for students who are just like me, hungry to work, hungry to learn, and just want to make some stuff. So I went to film school and I convinced my classmates I can act. So it was very different. I began to act in front of the camera for a very long time instead of just one or two lines. And I began to identify talent and stories from other classmates and help them create something. So to be honest, yeah, there were other Asians, but it's different when you begin to find people who feel like family. And I don't think we can get to that point until we begin to accept who we are for what we are. When self love begins, then you begin to find more like minded people like yourself, you know?
That sounds really good. I have you said that you wrote or you created a show called a drama, right? Is that a drama? A show called
Yes,
Ambitious? 6 episodes.
yes.
Is that I just met you. We kind of like quickly connect and then we quickly talk. So I have no idea about that episode or about that drama. Can you tell me how did what is that, and then how did you have an idea to come up to write something like that?
Yes, thank you so much. Ambitious is a growing baby. I believe it's been a few years now. So I was, you know, I was in Vietnam and I knew that I was entering my last year of college once I go back into the States. And I asked myself, okay, how can I combine my love for acting and my love to make stories happen, right? Because I'm just learning you make your own opportunities. And then I discovered why not do independent study? Basically, the process is you go to a professor who you like working with and you say, let's make a project for a whole semester. My professor, Michael Kutenmeyer, was very supportive and guided me through the process. So, Ambitious is a drama and comedy, and it shows light about how we, as daughters and sons of immigrant parents, do have to face the pressure of wanting to be successful in their eyes, wanting to cope with everything within ourselves. And what does that look like? For me, and in the show that was, inspired by real life events, it looks like the more we lie to ourselves and say that we have it all together, the more people we hurt, the things crumble down, where instead, at the end of the day, it's better to be honest with yourself and say, Mom, I'm not a millionaire. Excuse me, Mom, I'm not a millionaire. College is hard and I need help. But instead, we want to hide our face and tell our moms, like, no, everything's okay. Everything's okay. So the production was interesting to make, and it helped me confront to myself and to my family, saying that, I'm not perfect and I'm trying my best each and every day.
Well, that's basically there's nobody perfect, I guess, in this planet. Yeah, like we said earlier, right? We need more than one person to make a lot of big things work. So, so you created Ambitious is a drama and a comedy series. Is that the school project, basically, right? Is it airing
Yes,
somewhere or on Amazon or anything somewhere?
that's a very good question. We do have our first production already shot and edited. We have an original soundtrack. So our goal was to make sure to give people of color, especially Asian Americans and women in general, the opportunity to not only lead, but to create and be a part of something that hopefully speaks value. In regards about where it can be shown, that is still under wraps, and actually it's inspiring me to learn more about entertainment law, learn about contracts negotiation, and how can we advocate for ourselves. As you notice, in Hollywood, it is very big, very popular to see a lot of Asian American films and television. So I understand that my story is precious, right? My story is precious because it's trendy. However, my story is not part of a trend. I'm not part of a trend. I'm here for generations, just like how my ancestors were, and for my children after me. That's where we as Cambodian Americans, Asian Americans, have to stand up for ourselves and be our own best advocate. Once you know the value you hold, right? My stories, my family stories, who I am and who I want to be, knowing that that's treasure, we have to protect it. So it's easy to just, put it out there, but I'm learning to be more patient and more strategic so I can see something of a longer lasting value. So it's not up anywhere just yet.
Okay, that sounds good. I like to see it those because is that your first project as a are you actually write, produce, and you get somebody else help with filming, or what is your major role in that ambitious?
Yes. So Ambitious was an opportunity where I was the creator, meaning that I collected the people, the talents behind it to write the story out. So we had writers writing it. I played the main character, Samara, and we had directors who directed it and cinematographers who were behind the camera. It was a really big team, and to imagine doing that 6 times, so it was like shooting 6 short films for a year and a half. Yes.
Wow, 1.5 year for 6 episodes. That's a long time. So where's the funding come from? Who fund the project?
Ooh. Community, community. I was really fortunate to have some great people beside me in my team, like Samantha Tan and Kaya Proctor and Ian Mansberger, who serve as producers. The writers who knocked in with their own network as well, and Temple University, uh, were their own funders as well. But it's a lot when you tap into your own network and when you tap into your own community, right? Samantha did a really impressive job of getting locations. And we had one scene where it calls for, my character goes into a job interview, and the job interview is in a really nice place in the city. You could look at the skyline, impressive place. We don't know how much that would cost, but it could cost a lot, right? So instead, she went to the Temple alumni, the past students, and she reached out saying, "Hello, hi, we're shooting this project. This is what the project is about. I'm a Temple student. Would you be able to help us?" And we had a past student, you know, she said, "Let me talk to my boss," and lo and behold, we were able to shoot that scene in that location in her really nice office. And that kind of technique, or that kind of favor, in-kind donations, you would call it, where a lot of people lended their time and resources to help make this project, where it was they come in to help out, or they give us their apartment or office, they cook for us, or in any way, capacity contribution. It really made the project put together. It relied a lot on the community.
So basically, it's a lot of contribution from all different part of people at no cost. I guess that's why make your story or make your drama success, right? The completely done right now at the 6 episode.
Yes, yes, yes. We're just brainstorming the next steps forward for the project.
That's great. We're gonna take a quick break, and when we come back, I wanna talk to you about a little bit about you getting into the Asian work with Mary, right, and Philadelphia Association, and then Tom Hanks. Okay, so when we come back, we're gonna discuss some more. Okay, ពីកម្មវិធីសូមសម្រាប់មួយផ្លែសិនបាទ សូមស្វាគមន៍ត្រឡប់មកវិញបាទ Jenna, can you tell us a little bit about how you started the digital media for the Cambodian Association in the Greater Philadelphia?
Absolutely. Such an amazing opportunity to go back into my roots, not only in Philadelphia, but also as a Cambodian American. I remember visiting the office with my grandmother when I was younger, and few, 10, 20 years later, here I am, given the task to introduce digital media, so filmmaking, podcasting, making magazines with the community. I couldn't think of a better way to make a full circle. So as a filmmaker, and newly discovering the power of my own identity, and then on the side, deep researching Cambodian traditions and customs and figuring it all out, it was a blessing, a miracle for it to come together at this point right now. We're still growing, but this position has been thought of for a long time, for a few years now, by our executive director, Saran Chan, who's been such a tremendous support and guidance. And right now, we're focusing on how can we make our community creators and feeling strong and supportive in their own stories. So it's a journey, but it's really cool to see the results from it.
Sounds very good. How did you, I heard also you were working with Tom Hanks. So how did you get connected from what you're doing now that got to Tom Hanks production as what was that? A U.S. assistant producer or something over there with Tom Hanks? Development intern
Yes,
for Tom Hanks.
yes, yes. Just a little intern for him. So I was scheduled to do my last semester of college in Los Angeles, Hollywood Mecca, and we were expected to get some internships. So did not have any internships lined up, and it was a few weeks before we have to start our semester. And the power of community is, especially in this digital age, when you find people who inspire you just by them doing what they do best, you follow them, and then you keep in touch, right? There's this one in particular, a woman filmmaker named Sarah Hawkins, and I remember finding her on social media, began to follow her and support her. And when I made a post saying, is there anyone who would be interested in a small conversation about entrepreneurship? I was really deeply into entrepreneurship and wanted to learn more. She said, oh, I'll talk to you. Okay. So we got on the phone. We began to learn about each other more. And I told her my situation. I'm learning for an internship. I'm going to be in Los Angeles. I don't know anyone. And so she took my resume. After speaking to me, she felt comfortable advocating for me. And so there's this email group was created by Emily Best, who is a founder of a women-focused production startup money fund, Spark and Seed. And so Sarah put my resume out there on the email chain saying, hey, this girl needs an internship. This is what I think about her. This is what she can do. Here's her resume. And the email was sent to over like hundreds or thousands of other women filmmakers. I was very lucky that one of the assistants of Gary Guessman at Playtone reached out to me, and she said, hey, so we have one spot available. You'll be reading, books. You will take care of the office, any mails, getting lunches, and we only give it to one person. I'm like, oh my gosh, okay. So I sent her my resume, and she sent it over to the creative executive at Playtone, Miss Julie Lawrence. And from there, we had an interview schedule over the phone. And what I have to say is, be confident in yourself. All of the work that you've done previously, whether it was professionally or even personally, they add up. Because when we're storytelling and we're making films, right, it's more than just the fame. It's all about what is the story you're telling, what is the lesson you're teaching. So during the interview, Miss Julie Lawrence and I spoke a lot about Asian American representation, about Sandra Oh and Killing Eve, and just practicing not being nervous, right? So I was really lucky to get the internship. I was the only intern, and I had moments where I felt out of place. I was like, I don't know what to do. I feel like I need to be someone, but I'm not that person. I can only be myself. And I remember talking to my professor about the experience. During the experience, it was complicated. I felt it wasn't good enough. And she told me, she said, you're the first one of your family to be in a space like that. Your grandmother told her about my story. Your grandmother and your grandparents, worked all day long in the summer in the flea market selling Chinese food. Your mom spends all day in a nail salon. Your dad, anything he can do to get by. This is new. This is very new. And it's okay to feel uncomfortable. But you're there for a reason. They chose you for a reason. So just trust that you offer all that you are to them. And so I carried on. I did my best reading books this big and trying to not be so nervous, but be engaged. And one of those days, I let in an actress in, and I had to inform the upstairs office that this actress came in, and I heard a voice. Right, the office was like upstairs by the kitchen, and I heard a voice. It was like, "Oh, is that so and so?" I'm like, "Yes." Didn't know what to do, so I went downstairs. And then after the meeting, this giant voice came out of the stairs, and he came to my desk. So it's a small office, very cozy. But this big voice, came to my desk, and the person said, "Who's there sitting at Tommy's desk?" And I look, and I'm like, "Hi, I'm Jenna. I'm your intern." And he was like, "Hi, Jenna. I'm Tom." I'm like, "Hi, yes, I'm your intern. So if there's anything you need, like please let me know." And he's like, "Just be yourself and have fun. I hope you enjoy yourself here." And he left, and just that. It's just that, and
You're so surprised, right, when to see Tom?
because Butoni is, it's not every day do you get to see people
Yes.
who you admire, and for them to be pretty nice and decent
Yeah.
and come up to you and introduce yourself. Like, I'm just a girl from Philly. I'm just a girl who's figuring out her family trauma, learning about them, and now I'm being put in the room where. So my advice, to myself back then is, don't be small. Be confident. Still be humble. You don't know everything, but still be a sponge. Be a sponge and just be ready to absorb and be ready to work, because that's what you're there to do, to work and to be a good person.
Yeah, I think you have every reason to be surprised to see, because everybody would want to meet with him, everybody would want to shake with him, but not everybody can, and you have that opportunity, you have that chance, and right now you're working there. So what is your plan for your futures now that you're already kind of like up in the closer to the top right now? So what is your future plan?
I would have to say, Butoni, that, you know, Buddha, God, the universe really looked out for me when they put me in those rooms of Tom Hanks' office or the Oscars, Academy Awards, different spaces to see, like, hey, you can go there again. here's a preview. But I'm going to take you back home, back to Philadelphia with your family, and I'm going to give you those steps. And he put me here in the Cambodian Association where I put the things I'm learning into practice. So as I work hard to give what I've learning and to continue, learning about the community and providing for the community, I'm also learning how to raise my voice. Being vice president of US-ASEAN Youth Council is how do we build those relationships? How do we use storytelling as a way to solve problems and understand each other more? My next steps, the bigger picture is giving power to these stories. And also, I want to go to law school. I want to learn and feel confident in advocating for these stories, myself and my family. I get nervous about, are we getting cheated on? Are we, feeling mistrustful? But knowledge is power. And when you can open yourself up to learning as much as you can about things, you support your own decision and your own sense of self. So those are my future plans. Hope making stories, creating it, and building a bridge from Philadelphia to my grandmother's village in Cambodia.
Sounds really, really good. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to summarize what we talked. And then we're going to ask for your opinion to whatever you can give to inspire some other the younger generation, or maybe the same age as you, or maybe older, whoever that want to become successful or want to get to somewhere. So we're going to take a quick break, okay? ពីកម្មវិធីសូមសម្រាប់ប្រព្រឹត្តសិនបាទ បាទសូមស្វាគមន៍ត្រឡប់មកវិញបាទ Jenna, you were mentioning about US Vice President of US ASEAN Council. How did you get involved with that? Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Absolutely, my pleasure. So during the pandemic, right, we are only relied to our own technology for communication and reaching out. And during that time, I was very lucky to have virtually crossed paths with Valerie Kong, who is the founder and president of US-ASEAN Youth Council. After talking to her and learning more about her as a Cambodian American, she was such an inspiration, and we've been talking more and more to the point where our natural shared want to build better opportunities for Cambodian Americans or even Southeast Asian Americans internationally and domestically. She appointed me as vice president, and I'm very honored for the responsibility and duty.
We we're coming into a conclusions right now, but I want to tell you a little bit about what I have one word, and it seems like one word that I think it's really good. You have been using them all. So the word I told my friend and I told other people is called ask. It's spelled as ASK. So the letter A is stand for attitude. The letter S is stand for self-discipline, and then the K stand for knowledge. And it seems like you have done them all, which is the first thing you just said it yourself just now. You say knowledge is power, and knowledge you have to learn, you have to know a lot, and that's what it is. The K is the biggest circle, so the knowledge you have to have a lot of knowledge. You have to learn from all different things, not just one thing, and expect to be successful. So knowledge is the power. Knowledge is good, and it seems like you have done that. And you have to be a self-discipline in order for you to be able to do a lot of things, from screenwriting to acting to everything else. And then the letter A is attitude. You have to have a really good attitude to be able to get into work with those people. And the whole combination of the whole word is ask. Your film is got successful because of the word ask. I see that. Because if you don't have your partner or whoever that helps you go around and ask different people to get from what from a location from other people, if you don't ask, you're never going to get anything. When you ask, you get it for free, right? For example, like that location, you get it free. So basically, a whole your entire film, your entire drama, it probably doesn't cost you a lot. Of probably doesn't cost you anything. Does it cost you? How much does it cost you? Or nothing? Or for the whole film?
There was some money you had to put in, but it's compared to like other projects that like Hollywood or other folks are making. We were lucky. We're pretty lucky.
Yeah, that's what I think. You see, if you keep asking people, you never know what
Hmm.
you're gonna get. There's only answer is just no and maybe. They're not gonna hurt you. They're not gonna do anything. And when you ask, you will get the answer. If you don't get the answer, you can ask again, and you keep asking until you get the answer. Or if you don't get the answer, that's fine. Go ask another person. But the ask is really really important. I think that's to me anyway. So Vanity, we are in the final segment right now. I'd like you to kind of like give an advice to our audience out there. What can you say or what have you done that could inspire other younger generation or other people out there to look up to you and be kind of like at your level right now?
My goodness. Thank you again for the opportunity. To my younger self, create your own opportunities. The world is so big and it needs you. It needs your spark, it needs your stories, it needs everything you're going through. Get to know yourself a bit more. Know yourself, journal, begin to write. Figure out what is the story you have in yourself. As you move forward and as you begin to envision this life you can have for yourself, imagine every detail from the feeling of waking up to the satisfaction at the end of the day that can all be yours. And practice on being a good person. Practice on talking to people not for a job, but to simply be a genuine person of, hey, how are you doing? How are you? I think we need that more these days, some compassion. And every time you ask, and even if it's rejection, that takes you one step closer to where you need to be. So give up on doubt, on being scared, and go forward. Because every time your eyes are open and you take another breath of life, you're needed here. So we need you more than ever, future leaders.
Thank you very much. Thank you. A lot of the people that would scare for asking is that the negative thinking that make you scared of asking. You always make your own decision before you start asking the other person. For example, let's say before you asking, let's say it's for a job, you say, "Oh, I'm scared. They might not give it to you because I'm Asian, because I'm this, I'm that." You already make a decision for other people. That is not good. That is not good, right? You cannot make decision for other people. Let them make decision for themselves and let them talk, and then you do the asking, because when you ask, you're the one who get the benefit. Either they give or they don't. And don't when you ask and if they say no, and don't say that, oh, they're not your friend or they're a bad person. It's not that, because it's time. Sometime at a certain stage they can say no, but maybe a year, 2 years, 3 years later on, they could say yes, right? Because it is really important to let them know.
Absolutely, Butoni. If I can add to that, one of the problems or issues I was facing and I had to learn through was you cannot live your whole life in a day. It's a whole life for a reason, right? So I had to tell myself that. I felt I gotta do this, I have to do this, I have to do this. But eventually it slows down because what matters the most are our roots, our family, our relationships. Why do we take care of ourselves and be healthy? So I would say, the world cannot give you everything in just one day. Why not just take a time to know who you are at this moment and check in with yourself much more. So when opportunities come, you can answer genuinely of yes or not from me, no thank you, but think this one because my heart had said yes to this a long time ago and this is what I need. Sometimes our own discernment is our best direction, our best compass.
Yeah, I think, I think, like you said earlier, you have to be honest to yourself and you cannot lie to yourself. You cannot pretend that you are someone else. You have to stick to your
Mm.
root. You have to come out from your heart. And if you be honest, honest is the best way to do anything because you don't have to if you lie to some people you have to keep going through the lie all out all the way because if you have lie half truth it doesn't work. Yeah, so and it's so much easier to be honest to yourself and keep the truth and who you are and just if you are Asian you cannot try to change your hair to blonde and then make a white powder on to make you like a white or whatever it is there. So just be yourself is so much easier than pretend that you're someone else. So that's yeah, and I think that's the best way to do. And study hard, learn hard. I wrote a poem in Khmer, of course, not in English, about time. So I said that time is life, but the knowledge you can gain is from time also. Like you just said it, you cannot learn everything in a whole day. You cannot live your life in just one day. It's time. So time between now, between the tomorrow, between the next day, it's different. And people change through time. And time is everything. Time is life. That's what my poem is. I will send you a link so you probably don't understand it, but we have an English translation so you can see how it look like. Yeah, I don't know how to write English because I did not have a lot of time study English, but I do know a little bit about Khmer, so I write poem in Khmer.
Well, Tony, and I hope that in the future, with our next generations becoming more accepting of who they are, right? The Cambodian children we have here, will they begin to find pride in knowing that, Khmer language is not in Roman letters, but is in its own special Sanskrit, right? And I think especially growing up wanting to be Americanized, we think it's dumb, but instead, like Cambodians, we have so much wisdom in us. We came from royalty. We came from kingdoms and traditional dances and riches that was all cut short. We have the beautiful pop and rock music, Sinsa Smooth and Panoramic. Oh my gosh, it's incredible. And sometimes I feel like British would probably take our music, but we have a lot of wealth in us that sooner or later we'll begin to accept what our history holds instead of thinking that American is superior. So the US-ASEAN Youth Council is all about supporting that and ensuring that we preserve our heritage and our roots as we move forward as well.
I think our programs come to an end right now. Do you have any final words before we leave here?
Create your own opportunities, make them happen. You are your own best person and project to ever create, and I hope you have fun during the journey.
Thank you very much Jenna thank you very much បាទសូមអរគុណដល់ទូរទស្សនិកជនទាំងអស់ដែលបានតាមដានទស្សនាខ្មែរ TV តាំងពីដើមរហូតមកបាទសូមជូនពរឲ្យទូរទស្សនិកជនទាំងអស់ជួបប្រទះតែសេចក្តីសុខប្រកបមុខរបរស៊ីមានបានហើយមានសុខភាពល្អបរិបូរណ៍គ្រប់ក្រុមគ្រួសារបាទពីយើងខ្ញុំទាំងពីរនាក់សូមអរគុណនិងសូមជម្រាបលាបាទ